knows. The first time you encounter turbulence at 500 feet, 500 miles an hour, upside down, 3 feet away from 5 other jets, that is indeed an eye-opening moment, right? Now, are there any pilots in here? I know there's pilots in here. There's 2,000 people in here. All right, my pilots, hopefully you can back me up or heckle me. That's fine as well. Turbulence is fascinating to pilots, right? Because turbulence, we have weather models that can tell us when the atmosphere is right for turbulence, but those weather models can never predict exactly where turbulence is going to happen, how severe it's going to be, or how long that turbulence is going to last. Does that sound familiar to anybody? Right? I mean, the pandemic, right? A big giant pocket of turbulence for all of us personally and of course professionally. But I've flown in turbulence many times, so I'm out there in training season. It's a blue sky and tailwind kind of day. I'm in my favorite diamond formation. We go out to the jets and the weather guy comes running out, super excited. He gets to do his job. He says, guess what? The weather model is right for turbulence. I said, thanks, Sparky. I've flown in turbulence many times, no big deal. So we're out there cruising around, right? We're cruising around, everything's going great, and boom, we hit that turbulence. And the second we hit it, with jets 3 feet away, my whole body tensed up. I got a knot in my stomach, I started dripping sweat, and instinctually I gripped the stick extra hard. And the turbulence bumped. And I wanted to fight to stay in position, so I put an input on the stick. The turbulence bumped again, and that next input got bigger. The turbulence bumped again, and that input got bigger and bigger and bigger, until I got into something called a PIO, or a pilot-induced oscillation. It makes for a very ugly air show. All right? It is impossible for your teammates to fly next to, and in fact, I was making things worse. But isn't that our instincts as human beings when change and turbulence comes along? Do you ever try to control the uncontrollable? Do you ever try to resist that change? I'm here to argue that that's a very inefficient use of our limited time and talent and treasure. But there I was, fighting, resisting that turbulence, fighting to stay in position, making things worse. We finally land. Literally, there was salt in my eyes from the sweat. I wiped my brow. I thought, thank God I didn't hit anybody. Literally, that was my thought. Thank God we didn't hit each other. And we go into debrief. And I'm like, still kind of shaken up. The number 4 pilot on the team, this guy on the far right, number 4, Steve Horton. He's on his 2nd year. He's the experienced guy. He's my instructor. Steve Horton, call sign Dallas, right? Dallas looks at me and he goes, gosh, Nicole, what were you doing out there? You were a mess. You were all over the place. I couldn't fly next to you. You weren't adhering to the wingman contract. What was going on? I said, Steve, didn't you feel the turbulence, Steve? I was fighting to stay in position, Steve. And I remember this moment like yesterday. Steve Horton, a dear friend of mine to this day, he looked right at me with the biggest smirk on his face, and he said, oh, we forgot to tell you the secret. I looked at him like, I'm sorry, what? He says, we forgot to tell you the secret for how you stay in position when we encounter turbulence. Would you like to know the secret? I'm like, yeah, bro, information I could have used yesterday. He says, the secret is this. We promise each other, no matter what position you're flying in, no matter what formation we're in, no matter what maneuver we're about to do, we promise each other as a team that when any one of us encounters turbulence in our own jet, we will immediately loosen our grip. The answer, Nicole, is to loosen your grip. Right? The last of my instincts as a pilot in that moment, and the opposite of our instincts as human beings when change and headwinds and turbulence come along. So I went home and I tossed and I turned and I thought all about it. Steve Horton, right? He's the smart guy. He must be right. I thought all about it. We go out the next day, blue sky and tailwind kind of day. My favorite formation, weather guy, super excited to tell us that the atmosphere is right for turbulence. I take him seriously this time. And we're out there cruising along. Everything's going great. And boom, we finally hit that turbulence. And I start to tense my body and I start to grip that stick. But I'm like Steve Horton, the Yoda of the team. Loosen your grip. And I let go with 1, 2, 3 fingers and I start flying the jet just like this. And guess what happened? Yeah, I stayed in position. We all did. We stayed in perfect alignment and eventually we exited the turbulence because turbulence doesn't last forever. And the beauty of the whole thing is our customer and client, the audience on the ground, never even knew. It's okay to loosen your grip. I'm not giving you permission to let go of the stick, all right? What I am saying is choose to control the things you can control. Proactively choose to be efficient With your limited time and talent and treasure, it's okay to loosen your grip. Courage, trust, and vulnerability, I think, lie at the heart of this pushing the envelope mindset. This is called an elite retreat for a reason, because you are the elite. You are the best of the best, and elite people always know that every day you can do more to become a master of your craft. This is what we talked about, my friends. You're welcome to take a picture to remind yourself of this idea of tossing your hat and choosing that unscripted life, that nothing of significance is accomplished alone, the power of gratitude. Realizing that trust starts with you, your actions, your decisions and behaviors. Honoring that wingman contract across this Tom Ferry ecosystem, across this profession, and in your teams back home. Having the humility to ask for help and the grace to offer it, and reminding each other to loosen your grip. We're about to go to Q&A. I better see some bodies lining up behind those microphones. I leave you with my favorite picture from my career. The jet on the left is my husband, the jet on the right is me.